welcome to the Dave Whitty Show. I'm your host, Dave Whitty. Episode 9 is here, folks. Want to thank Niall Hickey of the Newfoundland Embassy for coming on last week. Had a great chat about his pub in downtown St. John's. I mean, just a great spot, great location. Most beers on tap on the island. Great live music 4 or 5 nights of the week. Lyre's custard cones. And besides all that, him and his brother Brendan, the owners there, are just great dudes. Really love supporting them. Love getting down whenever I can, and want to thank Niall for taking the opportunity and taking some minutes out of his day to come on and chat with me on the podcast. So thanks Niall, and thanks Brendan of the Newfoundland Embassy. And if you haven't seen that episode or you haven't heard it, make sure you do check it out on my social media channels, on YouTube. It's on Spotify and Apple Music, wherever you listen to podcasts. Episode 9 is here. Like I mentioned, got another great episode today. It's actually my first episode. Today I have Sean Aylward. He's the Sean Aylward of the Humble Barber in Summerside, PEI. He's actually the first non-native Newfoundland guest I've had on the show. Sean and his wife, they lived in Newfoundland for a couple of years. That's how I first got to know them, and I actually played their wedding in Summerside about 6 years ago. But I've just been following his story ever since. Had no real intentions of doing barbering or opening up a barber shop. I'll let him tell the story about it, but just got a really neat story. He spent some time in Newfoundland, really fell in love with the place here, and kind of wanted to stay here, but the Newfoundland weather kind of got to them. So he made his trip back to Summerside and started his barbershop there, and just a really nice guy. It was really nice to catch up with him for 45 minutes or so and just chat about what he's been up to with COVID and everything going on. Really great guy. So make sure you do stick around for that interview with Sean Aylward, the Humble Barber. Like I mentioned, things are opening back up here a little bit. I mean, level 2 is here. I mean, I kind of shocked that it happened. It went from level 4 lockdown to level 2. They jumped a level, which I was definitely shocked at, but opened it with open arms, which it basically means I can get back to work. I can start doing some gigs and stuff. So really looking forward to that. Don't really have anything lined up right away. I was supposed to do a gig this Thursday, but had a dentist appointment yesterday, and my dentist told me that I basically need to get my wisdom teeth out this week. Definitely been something I've been avoiding. It's an extremely expensive procedure, which is insane in Canada. And B, I'm just absolutely frightened to death of it. So, but you know what? I'm gradually becoming an adult, so I decided that I'm going to pull the trigger on it. So might be out of commission for a few days come Thursday. So I was supposed to do a gig Thursday at Golf Shots in Mount Pearl. Great little pub in behind the Landwash Brewery. Got some golf simulators in there, and great spot to watch sports and just hang out. Really enjoy the atmosphere in there. So thanks to the guys at Golf Shots for filling in that gig and booking me on top of that. But hopefully we'll be back sooner than later. Wisdom teeth injuries barred. So yeah, looking forward to getting back there. I mean, couldn't be more excited that they moved to level 2. Actually went out a little bit on Friday. They opened the bars here at 12:01. A lot of the bars here at downtown St. John's at 12:01. I mean, I live just a hop, skip, and a jump up over the hill. So I floated down over the hill for a couple hours and ran into some people I hadn't seen in a while, which was really great. Got to catch a little bit of Dave Whiteside at Greensleeves, and spent an hour or so at the Bull and Barrel just chatting with a bunch of friends I haven't seen in a while. So that was really nice, and was really happy to actually get to see some people. So looking forward to a bit more of that. I mean, didn't do a whole lot Saturday and Sunday. The weather here was absolutely atrocious. It was it snowed and it rained and it freezing rained and then it rained some more, and then it got cold, and basically what's on the ground now is just a frozen ice chunk. So looking forward to some warmer temperatures. I mean, we got hit with that little bit of warm weather last week. Was a real nice stretch, 4 or 5 days of plus temperatures. So hopefully that comes back sooner than later, because really got a little taste of spring in there then, which was nice. I actually just did this intro monologue and realized that I wasn't actually recording it, so I'm trying to think about everything that I just previously said. But yeah, just really, really happy to kind of get back into the swing of things. Taking a little step back from the Facebook live shows for right now. I was doing one every Friday during the lockdown. I just want to get back out and play in front of real people. I mean, not that nobody's real people, but it's nice to actually hear people talk to you and just to play in front of, actual people as opposed to behind a computer screen. So, going to hold back on the Facebook Lives for a little while. I mean, I'm going to pop back in every now and then, do a scattered one, probably over the spring and summer. Maybe I'll pick a weekend or an afternoon sometime and do a few songs for my friends and anybody who supports me from outside Newfoundland who might not get a chance to see me here in St. John's. I managed to catch the Leafs game last night. Leafs and Oilers. I mean, they played Saturday and Sunday. The Leafs had a really weird stretch. I mean, they had like 2 games in 13 days. And it was weird. Anyways, Saturday night was a great game. Leafs were down. Managed to come back. Austin Matthews scored a dusty goal in overtime. Got the monkey off his back, but it was good to see that happen. Oilers are a great team. I mean, you're facing up against Connor McDavid. You're facing up against Leon Draisaitl. Their goaltending's not been bad. I mean, it's been consistent. Darnell Nurse has been an absolute rock this whole year on the blue line. And then last night was a bit of a different story. Very interesting what's going on with the Leafs goaltending situation. I mean, Jack Campbell started Saturday. Everybody's really rooting for Jack. I mean, he's such a positive dude, and you see him in his post-game interviews when he's just chatting with the media, and he's really pumping tires of all the players and all his teammates and stuff. But lo and behold, come back last night or Monday night, and Michael Hutchinson's in net. Jack Campbell's injured again. It's like, what's going on with this guy? Can he pull together a string of games? Is this really the guy that's going to do it? I mean, he's 29 years old. This is really his first big shot in the NHL. He's basically been a backup forever. He's getting his shot right now. Freddie Anderson's hurt, and he can't pull together a string of games. It's been challenging to watch. I don't know what's going to happen in Leafland, especially before the trade deadline. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see if the Leafs pull the trigger on a goalie. They pull the trigger on any players. I mean, there's so much rumblings of different players that coming. I heard something about Taylor Hall coming to the Leafs, the Buffalo Sabres, who got to be the biggest dumpster fire right now in sports. I mean, I think they lost 19 straight right now, and they got pretty decent players. They just can't pull together any wins. They were up Monday night against Philly 3-0 going into the third period and managed to lose 4-3 in overtime. It's depressing to watch. I mean, I can't imagine being a Sabres fan. I'm a Leafs fan, and I've been down in the dumps over the years, but Jesus, 19 in a row is definitely tough. I was just having a little Twitter argument, not an argument, sorry, a little Twitter conversation with my good friend Ryan there, and we were chatting all about John Tortorella. I just managed to see before I started doing this the top 10 coaching, I don't know, freakouts or something like that. And it started because John Tortorella, he freaked out at the media again. I'm like, oh my God, here we go again with this guy. Like, what is going on with John Tortorella? Like, we get it, dude. You won a cup in 2004, man. Like, the media asks you a question and you flip at them every time. It's like, I just don't get it, man. Like, this is your job. You get paid millions of dollars. Like, I get it. The media must be frustrating at times. You're dealing with a lot of the same questions. And, if your team is not playing well and you're getting scrutinized by media, blah, blah, blah. But, like, that's your job. Like, I just love, like, the fact, like, the Blue Jackets go and lose a game 5-1, of course, sure, something like that. And, the media asks, hey, Torts, what went wrong in the game? And he freaks. He absolutely freaks at him. And I'm like, they just asked you what was wrong with the game. Why did your team lose? Why did you pull the goalie here? Like, this is your job to hold it accountable. You are the head coach of the team. I mean, he's so stuck in his ways. He reminds me of Babcock. Like, these two coaches, they just could not adapt to the way the new game is played. I can't figure it out at all. I mean, I just watched so many players crumble, like Pierre-Luc Dubois. I mean, he wanted out. I don't remember a time when there was a 21 or 22-year-old who wanted out and got out of a team so fast as Pierre-Luc Dubois. And it all comes down to torts. I mean, Laine gets traded over from Winnipeg, who's an absolute stud. Patrick Laine is. Like, I remember when Matthews and Laine were in the draft class together, like some people were shocked that that Laine didn't go before Matthews, etc. I'm like, thank God that never happened. But I mean, Laine is still good. It's just he's playing under torts and he's just crumbling. Like, I don't know. I can't figure it out what's going on and how basically this man still has a job. I mean, I can't imagine how many young coaches are out there who would love to jump at that position, who want to adapt and play the new style of hockey that's out there. I don't know. It's pissed me off, honestly. I'm sick and tired of hearing torts on TSN bitching and complaining about the media. I'm like, man, get it together. Your team sucks. If your team sucks, well, that's it. You have to face it. I don't know. Anyways, there's my rant on John Tortorella. I'm so over his nonsense, man. It's just always sucking and crying. I don't know. The NBA deadline just passed as well. Trade deadline. Norman Powell, Storm and Norman, part of the championship team there, got traded away to Portland Trail Blazers. Kyle Lowry didn't get moved. Was very shocked at that, to be honest with you. And I was kind of in the position where I was ready for him to go. It's unfortunate, kind of, that he never got traded. I mean, it's great to see Kyle. He's a Raptor. He's probably arguably the best Raptor of all time. But the Raptors are in a slump right now. They are in definitely rebuild mode. They need to, they really need to start finding new pieces and rebuilding that team. And I think that by Kyle Lowry probably getting traded, they could have added some assets. Didn't seem like anybody was really biting on him too hard, so he's still with them. It was so funny because the Raptors went and played the Trailblazers, who Norman Powell got traded to. Like, the very next night, you see Norman Powell lined up on the wrong side of the tip-off. It was really, really funny. But I mean, big thanks to Norm for all he's done for the Raptors and the organization. I mean, he just, the epitome of a Raptor, positive attitude all the time and worked hard and started on the bench and started a lot of games. And I mean, so the best of luck to Norm in Portland. Blue Jays are back this week. Really looking forward to seeing the boys of summer back. Can't wait for that. Jays are looking like they got a pretty good squad. Pitching a lot of injuries so far, which is classic for the Jays. And, baseball is a grind. It's a tough season. It's a lot of games. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting. They start, I think, Thursday or Friday in New York City, in the Bronx, to 20% fans. So it's nice to see some fans are back in the stadium. And then they go right to Texas, where they play in front of 100% capacity, which is wild and also hilarious. It's going to be great to see a ton of fans, but it just seems like, very Texas to do that. But anyways, we'll see what happens. It looks like the U.S. is rolling a little bit faster with the vaccine rollout than Canada is. I'm not even going to get into the vaccine stuff. It's not really my place to get into it, but we'll leave it at that. And you know what? I'm going to send it over to Sean Aylward. Make sure you do ever listen to this. Great guy from Summerside, PEI, the Humble Barber. Opened up a couple shops in PEI, and talks about what the seasonal work is like in PEI. Talks about his time in Newfoundland, and so make sure you do stick around for an interview with Sean Aylward, the Humble Barber. And I'd like to welcome Sean Aylward to the podcast. How you doing, Sean, man? What's going on? Thanks for popping on today and taking a few minutes out of your day to jump on. You're actually my first guest, from I'm not going to say outside of Newfoundland, because I've interviewed a couple people from Newfoundland who are originally from Newfoundland, but you're my first, non-native Newfoundland guest. So thanks for taking the time to come on. How you doing? Everything all good?
Oh, it's good, man. Yeah, thanks for having me. It's fun to be able to do this.
Yeah, absolutely. So for folks at home who are tuning in and might not know who you are, could you just give maybe a little brief introduction on who you are and kind of what you do?
Yeah, my name's Sean. I'm from Summerside, Prince Edward Island. Lived in Newfoundland for a couple of years. Now I own the Humble Barber. So I cut hair. I got two shops, one here in Summerside, one in Charlottetown.
Yeah, right on. Where are you right now?
I'm in my Summerside shop.
Okay,
which
nice.
is actually right next door to where I got married, where you played.
Yes.
Which you know, but the other people who are listening don't.
Yeah, we'll dig into that. We'll have a little chat about
Yeah.
the wedding, because I mean that was a good laugh. But
It was a
yeah,
good time.
thanks for taking the time to come on today. I mean, we've known each other for a few years, and I
Yeah.
still follow you on social media and all that stuff. Seems like you're doing great. I mean, you're back in PEI now. You did spend some time in Newfoundland, but let's kind of start, kind of growing up in PEI for yourself. Like, what was that like? And what were you up to, like, as a kid? And did you have any aspirations to do barbering or anything like that? Or was it just kind of on a whim? How was PEI as growing up as a kid?
PEI is great. It's really similar to Newfoundland, actually, which is why I think I like Newfoundland so much. Same kind of idea, like small town, everyone kind of knows each other. Sports, music are kind of the big things. Grow up with all the same friends, kind of from grade 1 up till 12. I had no idea I was going to be a barber. Like, that was never part of the plan. I always thought I was going to be a lawyer, so definitely came out of the blue for me.
Yeah, I mean, that's that. Yeah, I mean, unless you were kind of planning on that, I think, yeah, it definitely kind of comes out of the blue for sure. And did you always had planned to kind of settle back in PEI? I know I want to dig into kind of moving around. I know you did a bit of moving around. You spent some time in Newfoundland, and you were in Ontario for a little while, and New Brunswick and stuff. But was the plan always to be back, regardless if you did law or anything else? Was the plan always to get back to PEI?
Yeah, it was. The plan was never to leave. And then I finished university and I went out west for a little while. And then I spent, 10 years being away, every once in a while coming home and living here for the summer. And then when we lived in Newfoundland, the plan was to never leave there. But we just kind of had more opportunity back here. So closer to family, which is also nice. But it's been good since we've been back. We've been back for 6 years now.
Yeah, and it's beautiful. I mean, like, Summerside is so cool too. It's a little bit different than Charlottetown. I mean, it's like, how could I compare it? I'd compare it to Newfoundland. Like, it's kind of like the Bay of it's kind of like being of the Bay. I mean, if you want to say, if you were to classify, say, Charlottetown as almost St. John's, like, it's kind of like being around the Bay. It's like, seems like a lot more like low key, kind of chill kind of style life. I mean, it's absolutely stunning there. It's beautiful. I'd been there a bunch of times as a kid, but I mean, obviously I did perform at your wedding. Was that 6 years ago? Is that what you said?
Yeah. 6 years, 7 years.
Man,
this summer.
Holy shit, man. It's crazy how fast that's gone, man.
And it's changed a lot here too. Like, now we've got we got my shop. My wife's got a shop up the road. Some new, nice new restaurants and sandwich spots. There's a brewery just around the corner. So changed a lot in those 7 years.
What do you think? What do you think some of the reasons are? Is it a lot of young people kind of coming back to open up stuff like that, who just want to settle back into Summerside?
Yeah, it's the combination. Like, it is a lot of young people. It's also just people from away coming here. So, I mean, whether they're from PEI originally, like myself, but people who've moved out, saw what works in other small towns and bring those ideas here. Like my barbershop, it's not Fogtown, but it was inspired by them. Like, I got my first haircut at a barbershop was there. I'm like, this is my kind of spot. Like, a place like that can work anywhere when you do it so well. Yeah,
exactly. Is Summerside kind of the same? Like, I know, like, Charlottetown, like, kind of shuts down in the winter. I don't want to say shuts down, but a lot of places, like, like the pubs and stuff like that, it's very seasonal, right? I'm not wrong in saying that. Is Summerside kind of the same thing, or, I mean, it's still, all year round?
Summerside's a little more all year round. Like, Charlottetown gets all the tours, the cruise ships coming in the summer. So, like, there's a huge push for their market. Summerside, we don't get that huge influx of tourists. Like, there's a million people come to PEI every summer, and we don't see the majority of them for sure. Cavendish and Charlottetown do. So the kind of western part of the island sort of built for our local market, which I think is why it's kind of cool all year round. Like, the brewery doesn't slow down. Like, Kaylee's shop right now is open 5 days a week, where similar stores in Charlottetown are open on the weekend. So it is different, but I guess we're just a little more used to a steady, regular clientele than kind of the big influx in the summer.
Yeah, no doubt. So I want to pull back a little bit, and I want to talk about obviously, like you had mentioned, you had planned to do law originally. You had no intentions on doing the barbering or anything like that. Like, what were some of the previous jobs you had, kind of before you really decided on what you wanted to do?
Yeah, I've done a little bit of everything. Like I drove a garbage truck once. That was kind of funny. A shitty old garbage truck with leaky hydraulic hoses. I'd have to hold both sides, and wet garbage water would pour on me every day.
Oh man.
I was a
Wet
head
garbage water.
groundskeeper.
I don't think anything sounds more
Yeah.
disgusting than wet garbage water.
No, it wasn't good. I was head groundskeeper at a provincial park in Fort McMurray.
Fucking groundskeeper
So-
Willie over there.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a good one.
You say in Fort Mac?
Yeah.
Oh, crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, Gregoire Lake Provincial Park.
Cool.
Yeah, I had to pressure wash the porta potties with the smell that hits me to this day.
Damn, man, you've had some stinky ass jobs.
Yeah, the worst job I ever had was living in London, Ontario, selling or like trying to get people onto the Air Miles credit card for
Sure,
Sobeys.
yeah, right.
Just in Southern Ontario, trying to hawk credit cards was torture.
Yeah, that sounds absolutely. I think I'd rather hot garbage water, honestly.
I take that any day over doing that.
So I want to ask you about your move to Newfoundland. I mean, I didn't really know you in Newfoundland. I know you and Kaylee came out, and you guys had seen me play a bunch of times, and I'm sure we spoke, kind of briefly and over a beer or something. We weren't real close friends or anything like that. Like, what was the idea behind moving to Newfoundland, and how was your time in Newfoundland?
Oh man, Newfoundland is the best place I've ever been by a long shot. Gotta love it there. So we had just moved back from Ontario, worked a summer in PEI, and our jobs were ending. We were doing landscaping. So I had been out west for a while, so I was like, all right, Kaylee, like let's go to Alberta. And she's like, no chance is she going to Alberta? She didn't want to live there. So she said, well, I'm from Ontario. Why don't we do that? And I said, well, there's no way I'm moving back to Ontario and selling credit cards again. So then I said, what about, I was like, I always wanted to live in Newfoundland. Like, what about that? And she said, yeah, that'd be cool. So we literally packed up and we moved, I think it was like a week or 2 weeks after that. We lived in Avondale for a short spell and then moved into St. John's.
You moved to Avondale right away?
Yeah, my sister had a house there.
Okay, yeah, there was a reason there. I was
there's
like,
a little bit of a connection.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, so I did a little bit of construction with the guy early on. Kaylee got a job doing stained glass manufacturing with this company called SGO. They're based in Mount Pearl. And we just like right away met some really good people and just felt so much at home. Like we spent 2 years there and we've been back every year since we moved away. And it always feels like we're coming home. Like as soon as you're driving down the hill and you see that happy face on the overpass, I'm like, yes, we're back.
Yeah. No, I know exactly what you're talking about. Here be Townies, it says, I think as well. Underneath that happy face, there's a spray painted sign that says "Here be Townies" now with an arrow pointing towards town, which is hilarious. We were chatting a little bit briefly beforehand, and one thing that you had mentioned was that. Let me see here. I actually wrote it down. I lived in a shit place on St. Clair Avenue above a club DJ. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So the apartment was pretty nice. It was in St. Clair, so it was right across from the hospital, which is one of the scariest looking hospitals I've ever seen.
I literally live right next to that. Like I live on Coronation Street, which is adjacent to that. Yeah.
Yeah, we used to look at the backside during snowstorms and watch people just slide their way down Buckmaster Circle.
Yeah. What was up with the club DJ? Was this guy just doing hitting club bangers like all night long or what?
All night long. So yeah, he and his girlfriend. So his girlfriend's mom owned the spot, and they would just be up all night long, and they'd be fighting and like throwing each other out onto the yard and screaming and stuff. And then so eventually like we packed up our stuff and we left. And I think something happened. Like, I don't remember. I think we just left and didn't give like too much of a notice. And then the lady asked for the money back and I sent her an email to her work email, but she didn't work there anymore, but she found out about it. So she asked me to like recall the email, which was kind of funny. Like, how do I do that? Anyway, it was terrible. Just a miserable spot. And then we found a new spot on Rennie's Mill and like when a spot on Rennie's Mill goes up, like thousands of people message the person. And then Kaylee is Robert Decker was the landlord. He and Kaylee kind of like started messaging back and forth, hit it off, and then we ended up moving over there. And then that was just like an incredible spot, like 2 fireplaces, like the 12-foot ceilings.
Yeah, no, it's a beautiful.
It was before the brewery and everything was there, but God, I loved it there.
Yeah, no, that is an absolutely beautiful part of town. You know, just the old homes and the architecture and stuff like that is really neat. So you spent, I know you were here for a couple of years. Like, what were you doing in Newfoundland? Like, what were you kind of, was Kaylee working, or were you guys just here to hang out and kind of set your feet down, kind of figure out what was going on, or, you know, what was the idea behind that?
Yeah, we were just kind of living. We were, I guess, like 25 or so. I was doing sales for industrial sales for a company called Fastenal. Kaylee was doing the stained glass manufacturing. They were just living life. Like, you know, it was at the peak of Newfoundland. Everything was really rolling. The oil and gas industry was firing on all cylinders, and it was like a really good time to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we wanted to buy a house.
Would have probably been around what, 2014, 2015?
Yeah. 2013 or so, 2013, 14.
Yeah.
Right before the big old turn.
The decline, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, you were saying you were thinking about maybe buying a house, or
yeah, real estate here is nuts. Which I think it still is. It is here now too.
Yeah, I mean it's actually crazier right now since COVID. I mean, it's been like
us too.
Man,
like
the market is insane. I got a couple buddies here who are real estate agents. I mean, my brother right now he just bought a new house. He's thinking about keeping his other house because it's just good rental value but I mean, I pretty much bought my house here like at the perfect time. I got a really great price on it, pretty much at the bottom, but man, it's just been going up, and like there's no houses available on the market. And if they are, like, it's a good time to be a real estate agent in St. John's right now, man, because people are just flipping houses in a month. You put up a house and it's sold right away. Like, and you're getting over asking value for a lot of them, right? Which is insanity.
Yeah, most of them don't even hit the listing. It's just I've had realtor clients come in and they say people from Ontario just call them with a listing number and say, I want this, offer them 10,000 over asking price.
Crazy.
That's it. What a nice payday that is to be a realtor, eh?
Man, I don't know. I hope my buddy is listening on this because he's a good friend of mine. I'm not even going to throw his name out there, but I mean, I bought my house. He's my real estate agent. Me and my family actually went in on a cabin out in Greens Harbor area. He was our real estate agent for that. Now, with that being said, he actually found this spot for us out there. But I mean, me and my brother were just talking about, his wife is pregnant. They're about to have their first child. And we were talking about, he was thinking about how he possibly wanted to get a new spot. And I was like, man, why don't you just call my buddy here? I said, he'd probably help you out. He'll send you some listings. Literally like 3 days later, he bought a house. I'm like, man, what a payday for this. I'm like, you better take me out for dinner. I think he owes me dinner at this point. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's a referral in there for sure.
Yeah. So
at least a good night at the ship.
That's right. Oh man, looking forward to one of those. Actually, not gonna lie to you. So yeah, you were thinking about kind of maybe purchasing a home or something, but obviously the market stuff was crazy, so you probably never went ahead with that.
Yeah. Oh, the market was nuts. We didn't love the weather. That was a big part of it too.
It's absolutely
Newfoundland's a tough place to live,
dude. It is absolutely insane.
It's what makes it so good.
Yeah, well, it makes it interesting.
Like right now,
it's insane out right now.
We always say like, we're pretty good here too, but like when it's like 5 degrees in the middle of July, it starts to wear on you.
Yeah, no shit. We've been pretty lucky here, man. The last couple of summers last summer, it was hilarious because of course, like COVID, it was on the go. So, I mean, there's zero tourism industry. You know, you're getting a couple people from the bubble coming in, but like generally not, you know, very, very, very small percentage of what it normally is. And the best summer of my life weather-wise.
Yeah.
Like just 3-4 months straight, 20+ degrees, couple days of rain. Like, you're looking forward to a day of rain. And like, I'm not built for 3 or 4 months straight of 28, 29 degrees in Newfoundland. Like, I'm like, come on, man, let me put my coat on for a day here. But yeah, it's been miserable the last couple days too. Just really, it was kind of nice last week was spring, like 10 degrees and sun was shining. Hauled out the barbecue, and of course now it's absolutely buried again.
Yeah, the way we used to say it too, like when people would ask us like what it's like being in Newfoundland, it's like the weather there is generally so miserable that the only reason you would be there is if you wanted to be.
Yeah.
Which is nice because it's like everyone's pretty happy to be there.
Yeah, and I think one thing about the Newfoundland weather is that, like, and you've seen it firsthand, I'm sure, is like, yeah, it's July, it's 5 degrees, 7 degrees for 4 or 5 days straight, and then all of a sudden, boom, 24 degrees, and St. John's is lit. Like, everybody is on wheels. Just, the bars are packed and everyone's out walking around. You can't beat the smiles off people's faces because we really appreciate a nice day around here, man, because they're far few in between.
The lows aren't too low, but man, the high is high.
Yeah. So you spent a couple years kind of just, beating around Newfoundland and stuff. And what was the final, I don't want to say nail in the coffin, but maybe the deciding factor to pack your bags and head back?
I guess, so I wrote my LSAT, so the law school admission test. And the idea was like, we had a good run, but let's leave Newfoundland on our own terms rather than have it kind of end. We like to travel, and we're spending most of our time like every flight was either coming back to PEI or going to Ontario. So we wanted to live close to at least one of our families to cut one of those trips out. But yeah, so it was just the nail in the coffin was just kind of jobs that weren't going anywhere. And we were getting a little older and wanted to build some kind of a future and be able to buy a house and do things. So we made the hard choice.
So you wrote your LSAT.
Still hurts.
Yeah. Well, like you mentioned, you come here every year. I'm assuming you probably, I don't know, were you here last year?
Yeah, we went to Fogo like 3 months ago.
Nice.
We made it over before the bubble, and we're making plans. Like when the bubble reopens, we're gonna head back up. We got friends in Portugal Cove. We want to go visit.
Oh, nice, man. I love Portugal Cove. I think if I gradually move out of downtown, which is probably in the future, Portugal Cove would be a place I'd be looking for a home, because it's close enough to town, but it's far enough that you can get a nice piece of property out there.
Yeah.
It's right on the ocean. It's beautiful out there. It's not quite the same as Flat Rock, that area, where the weather is a little bit more miserable. I mean, it's surprisingly how close these communities are, but the weather changes so fast, whether you're, compared to CBS, compared to say, Portugal Cove, Pooch Cove, it's a big difference. Yeah. But I mean, so you wrote the LSAT. I mean, what happened there? You just gave up? You didn't want to go ahead with that, or?
No, I got my letter, and it was kind of a nerve-wracking thing. Like my entire life was building up to be a lawyer. It was always like, as a kid, like, what are you going to be, Sean? It was, I'm going to be a lawyer. And and I got this letter, and I knew I did pretty good. I opened it up, and it's like, and I saw it, and I'm like, all right, like that's a score. I can go to school. And it was just like a sinking heart. It's like, I hate school. I don't want to go back there again. And it was just in that moment, like right away, I was like, no, this isn't what I want to do. So then that night, like we were sitting at our place in Rennie's Mill, and I think we were just having a couple kitty bitty lights. And I said, Kaylee, I wish I could find something that's like back home, start my own business, do something fun, work with my hands a little bit. I said, but like all those good jobs are taken. So I don't know what I'll do. And she said, well, you really liked getting your haircut last week. Why don't you go be a barber? I was like, yeah, that's a great idea. So like that. And then like right away, I think the next sentence out of my mouth was, I think I'll call myself the Humble Barber. And then I was like, nah, I'll probably think of a better name. Like 7 months later, I still hadn't. So that's what I opened my shop as. But it was just as quick as that. Like I do a lot of talks at schools and stuff around here, like some of the college entrepreneurial programs. And the way I'll say it now is like, you have to stop thinking about what you want to be and start thinking about what you want to do. So it's like, I was always, this is what I want to be. I want to be a lawyer, not like, but I hate everything about law, like, except for the cool court scenes and like Boston Legal where William Shatner stands up and drops some sweet lines. Like that's what it was in my head, not sitting at a desk all day. It'd be
filling
torture.
out paperwork for hours and hours and hours or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, but I mean, I think that's the way kind of people grow up. You know, people kind of grow up with a mindset of, I mean, especially somebody like yourself, like, you know, you grew up in a small place similar to myself, and you get these ideas, and sometimes people just think that's it. That's what you got to do. You know what I mean? There's no other real option about it. But I mean, that's super neat. So that you kind of came up with that idea, and you obviously thought that there was a market enough for it, you know, in your hometown, right? So you went to barber school, and that was in New Brunswick, I believe, right?
Yeah. So 6 months living in St. John, going to barber school, doing free haircuts out of there, and just kind of learning the trade. It's sort of funny because I was 26 years old, and I was going, like, there's a bunch of 18 and 19-year-olds who did, you know, like some were really great, but a lot of people just didn't put in all the work. So I was sitting there, you know, like working on my mannequin all day, knowing what I was like. I had already drank my way through one degree.
Yeah.
So like this one, I'm going to take a lot more seriously. Like how much more serious I took my barbering degree than my university one is mind blowing.
Well, I mean, obviously it worked out in your favor. And I think it goes to say, you know, or it goes to show, like, when you really decide on something that you want to do, or you want to, you a place you want to bring yourself, I mean, that's when you're going to put the work in. You know what I mean? Like, you can go work a million jobs that pay you well, but unless you have some sort of heart into it, I mean, that's how you're going to enjoy it. That's where the passion is going to come from, right?
Yeah. And it's hard to be like, you look back when you were 18 and to think, and even like some of the clients I have now, and I talk to them and they're like, the pressure they feel to figure out what they want to do. It's like, how can you expect an 18-year-old to have any idea what they're going to be doing for the next
I'm 33. I still have no idea what I'm doing.
Yeah. I'm waking up and hoping someone walks through the door.
So once, yeah, exactly. It's like me. I'm just waking up and hoping the bar's open again so I can play music. So I want to ask you, like, you know, obviously the goal was to open up your own shop, right?
Yeah.
Originally, yeah.
Right away.
Yeah. What was that process like? I mean, you know, with PEI and Summerside and the city and stuff, is it hard, like pulling strings and stuff like that? Like, was it a difficult transition?
No, it's not. Like my dad was an entrepreneur. My wife's parents were like, we've always kind of been surrounded by business. So that side of it was just sort of, it was kind of half second nature about opening up, like a little bit of naivety and a bit of like kind of young brashness that I was just like, yeah, I can do it. Like that part's fine. Remember when I told my mom, I called her and she's like, how'd you do on the LSATs? And I was like, oh, I did good. She's like, great. Like, which school are you thinking of going to? And it's like, barber school. It's like
in St. John, New Brunswick.
A second of silence. It's like first thing she says is, but can you cut hair? I'm like, I don't know, but I never had good haircuts growing up. So I don't think that's the part that matters. Like at the very least, I can give a bad haircut and make a bad haircut enjoyable.
Right.
So that was where my business model was built around. Like, as long as I can make it a good time, it should be all right.
How has business been?
Oh, sorry. You cut there on me.
I just said, like, you know, how has business been since you open up because right now you have 2 shops, I believe.
Yeah, it grew really quick, which was probably my biggest challenge early on. Like everything I was doing was working every single time. Like I was open for a few months and then I had another person in, then I opened in Charlottetown with 2 chairs. Then I moved Charlottetown and had 4 chairs and 4 chairs in Summerside. And it's like trying to keep up with that growth was really tough looking back. Tons of stress and just trying to keep up, like juggle everything in the air. And like, I was moving on to the next stage before I even figured out the previous one. Mm-hmm. So business has been good. I'm lucky in that sense. Like I've had really good staff, which makes all the difference in the world. Mm-hmm. A couple bad ones along the way, which is where all the stress comes. Like as soon as things start going well and, you know, like someone can throw a wrench in that pretty quickly. And then it just feels like everything's crashing down around you. But like I've been open now for 6 years, which is crazy.
Yeah, no, that's incredible.
Still steady. Yeah.
What's the COVID situation been like on the island? You know, has it been different in Charlottetown to Summerside, or is the whole island kind of the same? I mean,
It was different early on. I for the longest while I used to say COVID's kind of like government dollars. It doesn't go west to Hunter River. It's a little local joke. All the money stays around the capital.
Right.
But since then, there's been a ton of COVID cases around Summerside. It's shot my good line out. Oh, sorry. But the there's so many phones around me. But COVID's been we were shut down for a full quarter last year.
Yeah.
That wasn't great. We made the best of it. Like my daughter was 4 at the time, so we just took it as some really good family time. We just bought a cottage, so we would go out there and work on it. That was nice. And then we were back, and it was just like we opened back up during a generally slow part of the slow season, and we were just flat out. So it kind of balanced it a little bit.
Yeah.
It's been hard on the restaurants, harder on the restaurants than us. Like we've been allowed to work for the longest while at full capacity. Obviously, like we're all wearing masks and we're socially distancing. We're doing all the right things, but restaurants and bars only being like having limited hours, for example, like only being able to be open till 12 and at half capacity. Like, yeah, like and imagine being told you can only earn at best half of the money you earned last year.
Yeah, I mean, especially after
it's brutal.
Yeah, it really, really is. I mean, we were pretty lucky here. I mean, anybody who listens to this podcast is going to be sick of me saying this, but I mean, we've been lucky here in Newfoundland. Like, we salvaged the summer out of it. We had obviously a fantastic summer weather-wise, but the cases were low, man. Like, we were, there was a couple travel-related cases here and there, but generally, like, we lived life here in the summer. Like, we're places like Toronto and Edmonton, Calgary, some of these big cities, they were shut down. You know what I mean? Like restaurants, you could dine out on the decks, but I mean, life just pushed on here. I mean, obviously we've been locked down. We just kind of reopened back up here last week. Actually, this was the first weekend past that stuff kind of opened again now. But I mean, once that variant showed up, it showed up so fast, and everybody was kind of caught with their guard down. Was the big thing here was that we'd been so. It hadn't seen anything here in so long, like no community spread. It was just travel related. And every time it would say, the officials would come on and say it's travel related, they're isolating. So you're just like, all right, well, whatever, I guess, you know what I mean? It made people complacent, unfortunately. So once, it kind of snuck back into the community, it just skyrocketed. So we've been locked down, but everything's kind of gradually starting to open back up again here now, which is nice. What were some of the like the I've been asking people this as a question, like, is there anything positive you've taken out of this COVID experience? Like you mentioned with your daughter, you spent some time, like I started a new podcast. Like, is there some things that you've taken positively out of maybe a restart or, to recharge the batteries?
Yeah, 100%. I've had a lot of positive stuff around it. I think it's a big part of it's just your perspective and what you want to make of it. Like when we were shut down, I didn't just like sit. I watched Tiger King like everyone else, but and I watched the Queen's Gambit, but then I learned how to play chess afterwards, like
man, I seen something yesterday on like, I don't know, on Facebook or something. And it was like 1 year ago today, Tiger King was unleashed upon and I'm like, holy fuck, man, that was a year ago, man. It feels like 10 years ago, it was just the way the year has gone.
Yeah. Like just to recharge the batteries. God, I was so burnt out, and you don't see it as much, but so you don't see it when you're in it. But it took me 2 weeks to kind of cure my workaholicism, like just that constantly being on and not knowing what to do with myself. And I'm like, and it's just like, maybe I identify myself with my work way too much. And then we just kind of settled in. Like my wife Kaylee's primary job before she opened her store was a photographer, and she lost 16 weddings last summer. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, no, I understand that. Yeah, brutal.
Yeah, so from there she's like, well, it's just sort of same thing, just looking around, and everybody's trying to support local and do those little things. So she said, why don't I open up a shop? So she did that, and yeah, we've been doing like a lot of reading. We're getting out and enjoying the outdoors. We got our cottage and spent a lot of time out there because obviously we couldn't rent it to anyone. So that was sweet because we got to have it ourselves.
So was that the idea behind the cottage, like as a rental property?
Yeah, that was the idea.
Like Airbnb or something like that. Yeah, right on. Where's that?
Thunder Cove area. It's kind of it's one of the best parts on the best places on the island. It's real popular local beach. It's got the Teacup Rock. I don't know if you've seen that before, but
I'm not familiar. I'll have to look it up. Yeah, cool.
It's a great area. But yeah, that was the point of that one. But then like we bought it the week before everything shut down.
Oh,
which is kind of funny timing.
Yeah. But you know, on the other side, you nailed it. It's how you take everything. You know what I mean? It's the way your attitude is. And yeah, you know, you could easily have been like, well, fuck, what a bad decision we made. I can't believe we're probably not going to make the income. But instead you could flip it and say, well, let's enjoy some time out there ourselves. Get out there and give you an opportunity to maybe do a little bit of work that you probably wouldn't have got done on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, which was really fun actually. And like, that's the way we kept trying to look at it. Like, you know, all the money we were going to spend, or all the money we were going to make was going to be put into someone else doing this work that we're doing ourselves. So like, let's think of it as a wash, give or take.
Yeah. So you were mentioning something. I mean, we were chatting later about last week or so. You mentioned something about a beach bar. What's going on with the beach bar?
Oh, so we bought the building that I'm in right now, which is right on the water. So Dave's been here, but for the listeners, Summerside's got this really nice boardwalk with a wedding venue restaurant beside it, and
what's that place called again?
Shipyard.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So we bought the building right beside it. It's got a paddle shack, kiteboarding and paddle boards, kayaks, the whole works like that. With its own like nice little dock. And our thought is we want to like rip out that whole kind of front area, put a bunch of sand down and put in a sweet beach bar. So that's kind of our next goal. It was funny, like COVID made us slow down a lot. Like I was going to open up a barber school this time last year, which would have been brutal. Like we had we reevaluated all these things we were doing and just kept asking ourselves like, why are we doing this? Why are we doing that? So we scaled some things back. Like Kaylee scaled back her photography to so that she can enjoy the summer and do the amount that she likes to do. She does like it, but like when you get bogged down in it, it's harder to enjoy. Same with myself. Like when we moved into this place, we went from 4 chairs down to 3, just because I enjoy the atmosphere with 3 barbers better. Like 4 felt like we were just pushing out haircuts all the time. We weren't getting a ton of we just kind of lost that sort of like person to person relationship building kind of environment that we had.
Yeah.
So then when we got all these things off our plate, then it was like we had some room and it's like, all right, what do we want to do next? And for Kaylee, it's like opening a store, and now we've got the space back there. So it's like, well, how can you not try to open up a bar when you're just right in front of this like perfect sunset and a lighthouse?
Yeah. No shit. Yeah, no, it's beautiful there. It really, really is. I wanted to ask you for the people listening, like what's the kind of vibe of the Humble Barber? You know, like what like people here, I know you've spoken about like Fogtown and the kind of atmosphere that has. Like, can you talk about the atmosphere and the vibe that the Humble Barber, if you go in to get a haircut there, like what's it all about?
Yeah, it's like we tried to early on. We tried to make it kind of a white collar barbershop. Was sort of the idea. We wanted to attract sort of the business people, the entrepreneurs, because that was more me. Like I would show up every day with, a shirt and tie, that shtick. Until you do that for a little bit in the summer, you get really sick of being attached to the shirt and tie.
Yeah, no.
So we transition, and our vibe is just kind of welcoming. Like we just want to be a place that everyone can come in, feel welcome. Like, you come in, we've always got nice music playing, like help yourself to coffee. We have a liquor license so that you can have some local beer or nice scotch. I guess, I don't know, our aesthetic is just kind of, people call us old fashioned because we have some old stuff on the wall, but at the same time, we're like really modern with like the shiplap and the nice white paint. And I don't know, I don't really know how to say what our vibe is other than it's just a nice spot to be in.
Yeah, no, it's like, I don't think it's not like you're going into first choice and you're kind of just getting mowed through, get a haircut, get out. It's like you come in, you feel like everybody and have a chat and feel welcome and homey kind of vibe, right?
Yeah, and I guess like our
that being said, you probably do know everybody. You probably do know most people who come through, right? Like
we know a lot of them now. Yeah. Like I've had people come in I've had one client every 2 or 3 weeks for the last 6 years. Like
Yeah.
I know everything about the guy. It's
Yeah.
like we've got, and the guys who work beside me on either side, like, you know, they're amazing too. And same in the Charlottetown crew. It's just everyone's got such a great personality for our shops, and that's the way I've built it too. Like, actually, both guys who I work with, I trained. You know, like Brian came back after he was living in Vancouver working in bars. Actually, he used to work at Fogo Island Inn.
Oh,
And
nice.
anyway, he was a bartender, and I used to cut his hair when he lived here, and I always really liked him. So when he moved back, I'm like, yeah, like, do you want to learn? Do you want to learn to cut hair? Because I had an opening, and we had an 18-year-old guy, Parker. He's an 18-year-old. It's like a perfect person to have in the shop. He's like full of piss and vinegar, a little sensitive, but real eager to dish it out. So
Okay, right. Yeah. Well, you got to have those type people around. That's
you
for sure.
gotta have a beating post.
Yeah. Any big plans for kind of the summer, or what's going on? I mean, just kind of push through and
Push through. Hopefully, yeah. Like we should all be vaccinated in the next, like, you know, month or two.
Mhm.
Hopefully just hopefully we're gonna get the paddle shack open again, hopefully get the bar going, do some haircuts on the dock, and just kind of enjoy summer.
What's the COVID
I know.
situation like right now on the island? Is there a lot of cases, or is it everything kind of open for the most part, roughly? Or
I don't actually pay attention to it at
yeah,
all.
yeah, I don't blame
Like,
you.
I think there's maybe 2 or 4 every once
Yeah,
in
but
a
it's
while.
not like you're not in
There's
lockdown.
nothing going on.
You're not in
No.
lockdown or anything like that.
There's restrictions on restaurants still.
Yeah,
But that's kind of it. Masks, of course, are mandatory. God, it would be nice not to have to wear masks in the summer, but I'm sure we will.
yeah. I bet you it gets pretty stuffy, especially in the shop. And I mean,
It
it's just
will.
so warm. Yeah, exactly. Do you spend much time in Charlottetown at the shop, or do you have somebody who kind of runs that for you, or are you back and forth?
I don't go up there too much. I have a guy who runs that, and
Yeah,
then a couple of longtime staff who've been around forever. So
nice, man. Cool.
yeah.
So when are you coming back to Newfoundland?
Well, probably a couple months. Actually, like, whenever you messaged me about this, my first thought was, like, I could make this a business trip to Newfoundland. We could do this in person. So that's where my head's at.
Tax write off to come and hang out in my living room for a few hours.
Yeah. I don't know how much business I'd be able to justify that one, but
Yeah. Do you
No, I
have
don't
any
know.
plans to come back? Or
Oh yeah, we'll be back. We'll be back in the summer or something for sure.
yeah,
Yeah, like, I don't know, like, it's hard now because all the airports are jammed. That's going to be the worst part. Like, the fallout for me from COVID is that the Charlottetown airport was getting really good last year. We could go anywhere from Charlottetown instead of having to go to Moncton or Halifax like we used to.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to be scaled right back.
Yeah, you're gonna have to start from square one almost again, probably.
Yeah, I keep crossing my fingers that Provincial Airlines is going to start doing a Charlottetown to St. John's flight.
Yeah, I mean, like the ECMAs, like the East Coast Music Awards, are in Cape Breton this year. There's no airport in Cape Breton right now that is working. So, like, I mean, I got friends and guys who play in bands here who are up for some nominations and stuff, and they're making the trip out. And it's like, well, you either drive from St. John's or you fly to Halifax and then drive from Halifax. So it's like, and you got to rent a car.
That might make it the best reason to go to the ECMAs.
Oh, definitely. It's going to have the
Like,
best.
anyone who's
there.
been there. Yeah, by far. Like, people who are going there are there for one reason.
Like, I never put out any new music last year or anything. So, like, I didn't even enter myself to be nominated because I didn't have it. I put out a single, but I didn't even put it in. But I've been like writing like my buddies. I'm like, yo, you guys like need a guitar player, or like, man, I'll come tune your guitars. Like, I just want to come for the trip. I just need like a little getaway. You know what I mean? I'm like, maybe I'll just drive up there with you and just hang out and I don't know, fly back sometime, or I don't know, see what happens. But yeah, I think that'll be a bit of fun.
Yeah, we were nominated for two ECM or an ECMA twice with our barbershop sessions we used to do.
Yeah, they were
but
cool.
I never went.
I wanted to ask you about them. You still doing any of those, or what? And who started that? I remember we were chatting about doing one of those a long time ago. I was planning on coming through PEI. Obviously, it just fell through, never worked out. But they were pretty neat, man. They're great. That's pretty cool. You got a couple of ECMA nominations about those too. Yeah.
Yeah, those were great. We had a lot of really good people come through. Like, we had Shaky Graves in for one.
Yeah,
that was wicked because he was playing at the Cavendish Beach Festival.
Right.
Yeah, it's just something. Me and another one of my friends is starting his own like graphic design and video production company at the same time. So we just kind of collaborated on it. So it's like half like a small interview outtake, and then the musician would play a couple songs with their new haircut. It was a good concept. And like it was filmed so well, and Brendan he's so dialed in with the mics and everything.
Yeah, the audio was incredible. I mean, that's some of those things that I think people miss on some of those. Like they're kind of like takeaway shows, right? People call those kind of takeaway shows where you kind of just go in and do like a live performance set up in front of a couple of mics. But sometimes those, like the audio is so shit from them. Yeah. But they were great. They were really, really dialed in. Yeah, no, they're cool. You got to keep going with those, man. I think that people love that shit. You know, that's a really neat concept.
I know, it's just so hard. You wouldn't believe how much, or I guess you probably would, but like how much time it takes to set that up.
Yeah,
like, it's like a good 2 days worth. And then, you know, we'd be in here all day doing it, just drinking beers and hanging out. I'd go home.
Sounds brutal,
it's like,
honestly.
Another tough day at the office, huh? Yeah.
That's awesome, Sean. Thanks for coming on, man, and taking some time out of your day. I really, really appreciate it, man. Always love catching up with you, and make sure you do hit me up when you hit the Newfoundland, man. Well, let's crush a couple.
Yeah, that's the goal. We'll let you know. I'll wait till everything's open back up there again. I want to see Water Street with all the patios at the front.
Yeah,
it's looking that last year.
Yeah, it's looking like, I think the bubble is supposed to open in 3 weeks or so, and actually Duckworth Street just got approved for part of the pedestrian mall as well, because a lot of businesses were kind of kicking up a stink about it, which is hilarious because I mean, where does the line get drawn there? It's like, well, I mean, New Gower Street, why can't they have it? But I mean, whatever. The more businesses that can benefit from that, you know, is great. But man, it was awesome. Like I live right downtown. Every day I just take the dog down. We just walk down, grab a coffee, man. You're just saying hello to this person. People are out, man. The street's completely closed off. Like you've been here for a George Street Festival before?
Yeah.
It's kind of like that, but in the daytime and not
big.
as and big. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like everyone's just kind of freely walking around, and no, it's really, really neat. So yeah, I mean, when you do get here, by all means, love to catch up and love to crush a couple for sure.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. We'll be in touch.
Okay, man. Thanks very much, guys. Sean Aylward, the Humble Barber. There you have it, folks. Sean Aylward, the Humble Barber. Thanks so much, Sean, for popping in from his shop there in Summerside, PEI. Really great to catch up. Lovely having a chat about, you know, what's going on in his world with everything COVID related and how he's just been pushing through, and just a great guy, you know, super down to earth, really fun to chat with, and looking forward to catching up with him and the family in Newfoundland, hopefully this summer. That about does it for me, guys. I'm getting ready to go and get wisdom teeth done here, and send along your best remedies to get through this weekend. What you like to eat and what you like to drink to pass the time. If you got any good Netflix recommendations, if you got any good new albums you've been listening to, send them along my way. Love to hear them. It's going to be a pretty chill weekend here at the Whitty household. So big shout out to my brother Mark as well. Happy birthday, Mark. Today's your birthday. Loves you, man, and looking forward to getting together and celebrating once my mouth's all healed up. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Really appreciate all the support I've gotten over the last couple months. Really been enjoying doing my podcast and chatting with a ton of different people and all kinds of different walks of earth. I'm going to keep these going as long as I can and try to keep interesting people on. If you want to follow me, you can follow me on Instagram at Dave Whitty. Same with Facebook and Twitter at Dave Whitty. You want to follow this show, you can follow my YouTube channel and subscribe to my YouTube channel at youtube.com/Dave Whitty. And you can find all these podcasts and more podcasts on Apple Music and Spotify, of course. That about does it for me, guys. Thanks so much from downtown St. John's, Newfoundland. We'll see you soon. Peace.